Because we're marching in a march.
At the moment...
No, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you know now. Let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding.
Yeah.
So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people.
We're lesbians.
Okay?
We're lesbians. It's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing...
What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I got merch, Magaverse the Machine. Check out the link in the description. I got to let the buffer go a little bit on this one. I don't want to piss anybody off. Susan Wojcicki, I don't want to piss anybody off, but here's what happened. Whatever you are, get off the road. Lesbian group that opposes transgenderism told to leave Pride Parade by cops. This is in the UK. Across the pond from where I am, a Cardiff Pride Parade.
Because we're marching in a march.
At the moment...
No, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you know now. Let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding. So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people.
We're lesbians.
Okay?
We're lesbians. It's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing confrontation.
I did not want to I went home and I fucking you're bullshit! Fuck off!
Safely march yourself.
We don't want to do that. We want to be part of
That's your choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march.
Yes, that is what's happening.
Okay, why?
For safety. For your safety, for other people's safety. That's why
you should be able to protect lesbians.
So,
you should be able to protect
we
lesbians
can have
in a
further
pride march.
conversations about the reasons why at the side of the road, because otherwise you are going to be removed from the road.
That audio was rough, so you saw the officer over there in the UK telling this lesbian that what I'm telling you is I just want to make sure it's safe. We're going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that on your own accord. When he said, whatever you are, get off the road.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing...
When he said, whatever you are, get off the road, I don't think he meant it in any type of derogatory way. He was just trying to do his job. But this kind of clash did lead to them having to, whether it's right or not, have to think about removing lesbians from a pride parade. These are members of this group called Get the L Out. And the members say that the L in LGBT, which stands for lesbians, should be removed. Then they can oppose misogynistic politics and systems that prioritize men's interests and include transgenderism in that bracket. I'm going to take this back to the States because I'm not too familiar with UK politics in particular, but this battle's happening all over the world, including the United States. And I want to be an ally, not just in this fake term where ally is basically you believe whatever we believe. It's like collective mind, hive mind thought. I want to be an ally in that here's the experience that I've seen as a Black American. What these corporate parties have tried to do with Black Americans is exactly what they're trying to do with you. This is intersectionality. That's why you have to group the LGBTQ all together.
Refers to the reality that we all have multiple identities that intersect to make us who we are. It also gives us a way to talk about oppressions and privileges that overlap and reinforce each other.
Just take a look at what's happening. The LGBTQ acronym, it really means a lot. Lesbian, gay, bisexual. That's why they put the plus, because it's so many, you're not going to rattle it off every time. Trans, transsexual, transgender, questioning, queer, intersect, asexual. And then the plus can include members of other communities, including allies, agender, demisexual, gender fluid, gray sexual, non-binary, genderqueer, pansexual, omnisexual, polyamorous, sapiosexual, two-spirit. It's become something bigger than just lesbians. And what we're seeing is intersectionality of these groups. Intersectionality will always create fighting within groups. These identity groups make it easier for the government to control people because they break you up into different identities, and then they can say, hey, we can do something for your identity. We're the ones powerful to do it. The other side doesn't care about you.
To start the national, full-blown conversation about reparations in this country.
I have long believed that this country should resolve its original sin of slavery.
There is enormous disparity between the black community and the white community, and that issue has got to be addressed.
It doesn't have to be a direct pay for each person, but what we can do is invest in those communities.
Everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country.
So it makes it that's what they did with Black Americans, and you might see Uncle Tom 2 just came out. That's basically what it's about. It's about Democrats being smart enough to say, oh, let's give black people the welfare state, and then say those who don't believe in it hate you, or they aren't black at all.
Whenever you have something to be proud of, people have less of a chance of controlling you.
This country is racist from top to bottom, from right to left. And for black people to become a part of that is for them to become, in fact, anti-black and to hate themselves.
That's the power behind this identity. There's pros and cons to anything in life, though. The con here is that you will always have infighting. The black identity looks at the Native American indigenous identity and say, well, why did you do something for them? You didn't do anything for us. You see black people look at the Asian identity, or they look at the Indian identity, or they look at this identity and say, you did this for this identity. Why didn't you do anything for our identity? That's because you have put together a community based on what? What is the LGBT? What does that community have in common to hold them together? It's very difficult to hold that together. That's why Trump is a very big figure. You can point to something. We're all in a community to hate somebody, but you're not in a community because you agree on the same things. What does a lesbian have to do with a transsexual? They're two different type of people. So you just like the black, people say black community. I'm not in a community with you based on the color of my skin. Now, you can do a Tesla community. I think I'm loosely affiliated with the Tesla community. I just follow a lot of people, the big people who talk Tesla. You go to Tesla outings, you talk to somebody has a Tesla, you go talk to them. That's what leads the Tesla community. It's not like you have to be black to be in the Tesla community. It leads with, you just like Teslas, you like talking about Teslas. Star Wars. Are you in the Star Wars community? Yeah, you just like talking Star Wars. It doesn't matter if you like Donald Trump. It doesn't matter if you like DeSantis. It doesn't matter if you care about politics or if you even like Joe Biden. You can still be in the Tesla community. You can still be in the Star Wars community. That's not the case for the LGBTQ community, though. Is Dave Rubin in the LGBTQ community? Is Blair White in the LGBTQ community? So what that means is you're not leading with lesbianism. You're leading with adherence to whatever this corporate ideology is that hates the other side. That's the number one factor of this community. That's the common value bringing you together. It's not your fight as a lesbian feminist. So you've got to break away from the communities because you don't have a community. You don't share the same values with, I rattled off all the letters in the acronym. You all don't share the same values. Just because you like to have sex with other women doesn't mean you share the same community with somebody who likes to have sex with other men. Why would you be in the same community? You don't agree on that. And then the ideology all funnels you into the state. So you can be in the community as long as you understand that the government is really what runs the community. That's what's happened to black Americans. Remember, Joe Biden, you ain't black if you don't vote for me.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
No repercussions. I mean, there were black people who were like, I don't know about that. But ultimately, nobody talks about it other than the non-left, the non-corporates. You don't hear Jamel Hill bring that up. They believe whatever they're told to believe. They don't know what to believe. They don't know what to believe independently. They know what they're told to believe, what they're allowed to believe. That's the same thing that happens right now to the black community or black Americans. I don't associate with that. I don't believe in a black community based on the color of your skin. That sounds silly. But that's what they all believe the same thing. They all funneled through the same thing. And if you don't believe it, then you're ostracized out. Same thing with the LGBT. The homie Elijah Schaefer, who I think is great, went on the street disguised as a member of the LGBTQ community. He talked to some people and said, hey, you support Ukraine? Then he was like, did you know that Ukraine kind of supports this also?
You guys support Ukraine?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. But I feel stupid because someone told me that they banned gay marriage in Ukraine, and I did not know that until today. What are your thoughts on that?
It's terrible. It doesn't need to happen.
Someone told me today that they weren't letting the transgenders leave Ukraine and evacuate the trans women, and they're making them stay back and fight because they're calling them men. They're misgendering and dead naming them and making the transgender women fight in the war against the Russians. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
What a trap.
And it was like an awakening. They didn't know they just supported Ukraine because they were told to. They don't know anything about Ukraine. It's not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey or see children's game with blackface. This is the country you're supporting. This is the culture you support. You put a Ukrainian flag. A lot of y'all probably never even had an American flag in your bio before. You're probably triggered by it. Nothing like supporting a country that would look at you as N-word and a monkey. Y'all supporting some crazy stuff, man. That's why you have the inconsistencies with my body, my choice. My body, my choice didn't apply when it came to the jab, but of course it applies when it comes to abortion. You come up to this issue now, and there's biological men who identify as women. I have nothing against you. I will honor your identification as well. But so these lesbians aren't trying to attack them personally. They're just saying your goals aren't my goals. So we can't share a community together. And in my opinion, you have to let the community police itself, as long as they're not breaking any laws. So as far as that, if they were breaking laws at the parade, then fine. But if they're not breaking laws, you've got to let that tension happen and let that split happen naturally. If it's really a community, if it's really not controlled by the state. These police cars and officers have LGBT rainbows and flags on their vehicles. So they're controlled by the state as well. This officer is not going to be like, hey, as long as there's no laws broken, you guys got to hash this out. That's what should happen. Like a family, you talk and you say, hey, maybe we should split. At the end of the day, these are women who are trying to hang on to their identity. And they know if they stay with the group, they won't keep their identity. And we know where this playbook goes, they're going to be labeled as far right. And you know where this ends for anyone that goes against the state ideology. You're considered far right, you're a lunatic, you're a radical, and in America, they would be labeled as MAGA. Welcome to the club.